If you're a driven, active person who wants to reach and pursue a higher quality life with some ambition, then guess what? This podcast is for you. This is the Driven Athlete Podcast. What's up, y'all? It's your man, Dr. Kyle. Welcome back to the Driven Athlete Podcast. We got a really cool guest with us, Natalie Addison, local legend. She's opening up a cool new gym facility in West Palm Beach, which we'll dive into. But thanks. I know you're busy, so I appreciate you coming in, sharing some insights.
Thank you so much for inviting me. This is awesome. I'm really excited to do this interview and be a part of something that you're creating.
Cool.
Awesome.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we were talking earlier, bridging the gap and getting some different feels and vibes from other fitness industry experts, and then kind of collaborating and getting it all together. I think it's, from what you were saying, because you've been doing the fitness industry for 15, 20 years in this area, right? Mm-hmm. So you're super experienced and have a lot of knowledge and insights of the local fitness in West Palm Beach area. And from what you were saying, not really going on right now, of like a lot of collabs and synergy. Mm-hmm. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So I've been in this fitness industry for over 15 years. Some of it started up in Philadelphia, New York, and then came down here. Mm-hmm. And when I came down here, I noticed that the culture of Florida is so vibrant and active all year round. So for us in the fitness industry, there's people that are fit everywhere. There are people that want to be active everywhere all mm-hmm. year round. And as I came down here and I got into the fitness industry, I noticed that there wasn't as much synergy with the chiropractors and the PTs and the trainers and the yoga instructors, almost as if everybody kind of had their own niche. And I'm like, man, I really love connecting with other people in this community. I would love to bridge the gaps between things. And also, I know that not everything is within my scope. So over the last 7 years that I've been here, I've kind of had these little like collective groups of like these chiropractors and these PTs and these yoga instructors, and almost like building my little fitness Rolodex of people to be able to call out. And a lot of them I've actually personally used myself, so that when I refer, I understand what work I'm referring. So that's been a really cool way to integrate myself into Florida, into West Palm Beach, into the surrounding cities, is be able to call those people, get work done by them, or have them train me or take their yoga class, and be able to speak like from my personal experience and refer those people. That's like one of my biggest passions is to connect with other people in the community and share each other's like passions for our niche, and then be able to like create this synergistic relationship where I can be like, hey, what's your thoughts on? And we can bounce ideas off each other.
Yeah, totally. That's awesome.
Yeah.
We're definitely very similar in that. Let's backtrack a little bit. Origination story. Are you from Philly originally?
Yes, I'm from Philadelphia, right outside in the suburbs. And
so are you Eagles fan?
Actually, I was raised a Dallas Cowboys fan.
What?
Yeah, I never went. My dad.
That's dangerous.
It's so dangerous. And I love football growing up. So like Aikman, Irving, Emmitt Smith, all those guys. Those were my guys.
Yeah, same.
Wore a Dallas Cowboys starter jacket to school. Got made fun of, but wore it.
Oh, that's pretty brave.
Yeah, it was very brave for a second grader. Yeah. And I'm from outside of Philly, raised a Dallas Cowboys fan. Still love all football teams. But my origination story, I was a dancer my whole life. I played sports my whole life. I loved fitness, but I loved dance heavily. When I was 18, I actually got my first job. I danced like 2 weeks right after high school. I worked in a theme park, and I danced in a show up there in upstate, like New Hampshire. And then after that, I worked on cruise ships for about 3 to 4 years. After cruise ships, I did lots of, different theater shows, casino shows. I worked in all over New York, Jersey, Philly, that whole area. And I knew at some point that I was going to have to cross over into a different career, because you can't dance forever and your body doesn't hold up the same. And around the same time that I decided, you know what, I think I want to bridge this gap with fitness, was around the time where I ended up having a back injury. And that back injury really set me back in my dance. And I didn't fully understand it. And at that time, I had a close relationship with a chiropractor and PTs, and I looked to them for help. and I asked them to help me through it because I didn't want to stop from the show that I was working on. And I learned my way through all of my back stuff and what was going on, and there was a lack of education actually in the dance community about core and about strengthening it and about hypermobility
Mm,
and about how that can affect your body. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to take this injury and I'm going to learn from it and I'm going to go into the fitness career. So I ended up leaving dance about 30, which is when I moved down here, but I had started in the fitness community in like 2009. So it's been quite like about 15 years. But after leaving the dance community and getting into fitness, they're similar, body awareness, but different. And I felt like I could understand so much more about my body and other people's body after learning the anatomy. And then I'm like, got so hooked on it. I'm like, okay,
cool.
this is really cool because now I can help people like myself that are in their passions or want to play their tennis or want to golf and they're having pain. I'm like, I don't, I want to be able to make them feel strong and fit. And so my story of pain is actually I learned through that and now I still have those same injuries and I can help educate others
That's
around it.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's interesting, like finding that bug of like, "Man, this is cool. Let me like dive into this. Like, can I learn more about this?
Hmm.
And then can I apply that to like the thing that I think is cool and I love? And where like I didn't really have much, I don't know, what much as I could have had, right, in my athletic endeavors and your athletic endeavors. That's really cool. I had really similar moments, you know. So then all right, so you moved down here then
Hmm.
when you started your fitness thing in 2009 or
No,
after that?
no, 2009, I was in New York. I went to this school called National Personal Training Institute, and it's really cool because they do it's like hands-on learning and then education from the NSCA books.
Okay.
So you study the book and then you go into the gym and do hands-on training. So I was there while finishing a show in Atlantic City. And then after, I think it was like 2016, I moved down here and my thought was I want to move to West Palm because I had been dancing on cruise ships and I knew all of the cities in Florida and which ones were a little bit more vibrant than I wanted and which had, was a calmer demeanor. And I felt like West Palm was kind of up and coming and growing.
Yeah.
And I noticed that in Florida, everybody was so active. And in Philadelphia, um, people kind of hibernate in the winter.
Yeah.
Still love my Philly people, but they hibernate in the winter, and then like February comes around, they're like, it's bikini season. And in Florida, I felt like we could work on just health overall year round. So
Yeah.
I wanted that
100%.
year round, like people coming and reaching out to me year round. So I moved down here for that reason, and also because I like working with an older population, and there's definitely an older population down here because I understand, their injuries and the pain and how to be empathetic and work through some of that. And I know that that population lives here. So, and the beach. I mean,
Yeah.
who wouldn't want to move down here
Right.
for the beach? So all those things collectively, I was like, okay, West Palm's my city.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Um, well, and since then, developed some relationships, right? I know we have mutual relation with Ryan Conforti, right?
Yes.
Jiu-Jitsu owner.
Hmm.
He was on your podcast a couple weeks ago. I know you worked with some collabs with Eric Cressy and
Hmm.
Palm Beach Gardens,
Hmm.
right? And then District Fit, another
Hmm.
really thing that
Hmm.
past 5 years has been
Hmm.
getting more popular, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And then local personal training gyms and CrossFit gyms.
Hmm.
Is that correct?
Hmm. Yep. Yep.
So then when you first came down here working with, were you doing your own thing, seeing clients on your own, like just individually? Were you working with a gym? And then when did you get in CrossFit and then start
Yeah.
doing yoga like more intensely?
So when I first moved down here, I actually picked up a gig part-time working with Lululemon because
Mm,
that was my way to kind of integrate myself into the community. And I was actually their community lead. So I was responsible for making relationships with every single gym. And I knew that that was going to be my way to be able to collab and connect with everyone and get to know everyone and then make my
right.
decision about where I wanted to work. And Lululemon has always been like a really great supportive brand, understanding that your vision's gonna be bigger than Lululemon. So they knew that at some point I was gonna leave and take on my personal training role again full time. And The first job I think I took on part-time was teaching at a kickboxing, a TKO, gym in Palm Beach Gardens. The second thing that I, took on was I became the fitness director of the Beach Club, which is a country club on Palm Beach Island. So it's a very different, group of people.
Way
It's
different
a
demographic.
way
The
different
beach club from a TKO
yes,
boxing.
yeah, I went from, like, HIIT training to, like, corrective exercise real quick. But I love that. I love being able to bounce back and forth, and, at that time, I was also going through yoga teacher training because I felt like that yoga had always been my thing that I could call on when I needed it, when my back was hurting me. And at that time, I didn't really understand why. Now, knowing it helps so much with spine mobility, and strengthening, and that there's so many different styles. So I went from TKO to the beach club. I worked at the beach club for a while, and then COVID hit, and they had to shut the gym down. And then I kept working with my clients, and my clients followed me. I worked over at One Fitness, and now we have our own gym, Movement West Palm Beach. So I've kind of jumped a little bit all over, but as like a fitness supporter, I have probably dropped into almost every gym and yoga studio in West Palm Beach just because I love to support people in our industry. And I think it's so cool to have relationships with each other and be able to speak authentically about who they are and be like, oh, yeah, go over, see Chelsea at Yoga Path. Oh, check out Savannah and Derek at CrossFit Squad, you know? And I love to be able to say everything that I know from experience about using those gyms or those yoga studios. So I made my way around West Palm Beach and some of Palm Beach Gardens and some of Delray and, popped in everywhere. But now it's really cool to have my own home base and
Yeah.
be able to create my own vibe, and be able to have that synergy within my space because we have trainers of all different variations and a physical therapist as well. And I created more of this calming aesthetic with plants that really makes me happy. And over the years of working in so many gyms, I've kind of figured out like, all right, I've worked in all these places and I've seen all these amazing people. How can I create that in my own space and be like, you know what, this system may not have worked, this type of model may not have worked, these colors may not have worked, and taken all of that information and figured it out in a way that would work best for both my fiance Nick and I, and then develop that from there.
Yeah, that's cool. So
So
like definitely an eclectic approach.
yeah,
Put everything together. That's like, I like this, not that, but I like this. Put it all together in a pot, put it in your own personality and culture, and then you got
yep,
movement West Palm Beach.
yeah.
Where's the gym located?
So we are located on 1600 North Dixie Highway, Unit B. It's basically if you are driving down Flagler from the North Bridge heading north, there's an apartment complex called the Slade. You just turn left and it's right down that road. So
Gotcha. Okay.
if you're thinking of like landmarks, it's kind of Palm Beach Lakes and Flagler
Okay.
ish.
So really close to HSS, right? The
Yes,
HSS
it's
facility
really
and
close
the
to
Victor Ferris building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Gotcha.
and
Okay.
all of those. Yeah.
So then we're pretty close to you guys too then, 'cause
Yeah.
we're on Palm Beach Lakes.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I know, it's really close. I was
Yeah.
just thinking I was driving here, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, we're, like, really
There's a
close
lot
to each
closer
other."
to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
uh-huh.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So and the doors, when do you think things will be ready to go to open doors?
We actually opened on April 1st,
Okay.
like a soft opening.
Yeah, yeah.
And we have, we've been crushing it.
Cool.
Yeah, my book, my fiance's book, we're both really full. We have a few other trainers and a physical therapist on staff, and we've been working and integrating these trainers over the last 8 to 10 months on the back end and doing some trainings all together. And it's been really cool for the last week and a couple of days to be working in the space together,
Yeah.
because it's nice to see each other here and there for a little training, but it's so different to like be
Just
in the
living with
gym
them.
and like
Yeah.
look up and look over and you're like, oh yeah, check out Jen. Oh, look at Denarius. It's like good to have that energy.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
it feels nice to have, how it is here. Like you there has to be days where you look up and you're like, man, this is badass.
Yeah. Like this is cool.
This is
Yeah.
cool.
This is cool. It's all
Yeah.
working together. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, So describe movement, West Palm Beach, like culture, personality. Is it only one-on-one personal training? Is it only yoga classes? Like describe what y'all doing.
So, Movement West Palm Beach, obviously, movement is the basis of everything, and what we do. So, I like to encourage movement of all ages, of all kinds, for all people. And we like to take in those clients. Some of those clients will go through a movement screening with our physical therapist. And then from there, the trainer will watch that physical therapy intake. And then they'll best discuss a plan of action on how to move forward. Not everyone necessarily needs the movement screening, but as you know, most people do. So
Some kind of conversation going on.
yeah, usually. So it's mostly one-on-one training. However, we are allowing for some small groups, and we're going to be coming up with some time frames to be able to do small groups, to be able to not everyone can afford personal training rates, and I understand that. So I want to be able to be a little bit more inclusive with that. And also just having smaller groups can sometimes be more fun
Yeah.
when you bring your
More
friends.
energy and stuff. Yeah.
And our
And some accountability.
yes.
Well, I mean, like personal training for sure.
Yeah.
Like people get personal trainers for a lot of reasons. And one of them, from my understanding, and also for us, it's the accountability.
Mhm.
It's like, hey, where are you?
Yeah.
You know, like
Oh,
we
yeah.
said 6 a.m. You know,
Yep.
it's like,
Mhm.
oh, I know
They
you're gonna
know
call me
that.
out.
Yep. They know that if they're not there at 6 o'clock, I'm calling.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then we're also going to use the space. If you or any of our listeners come to the space, you'll notice that half of our space, everything has wheels on it. So all of our benches, our cardio pieces, our dumbbell racks, our squat racks are foldable, so that we made our space convertible so that we can teach seminars in it, and we can rent out that space for seminars. So if
Cool.
anybody, people within our space and people outside of our space, anyone that we believe in, that we have relationships in, that want to teach seminars, we want to be that host and place for it. So we have that too. So it's a little bit of personal training, a little bit of small group, and then events. And then we're also going to be doing a lot of work with charities. So a lot of local charities. We already have some conversations going with Special Olympics. We'll also be doing some stuff with Jack the Bike Man and some bike rides. We'll be doing, what else do we have? Inner City Innovators I work with and fundraise for. I also started their yoga program for them, the Hope Dealers. I don't know. Shout out to the Hope Dealers. And then we'll be doing a lot of collaborative community stuff within our space too. So it's not just training. It's also like a fitness hub to be able to raise funds for other people to be active as well. Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Mhm.
Let's talk about your yoga journey.
Yeah. Oh,
So you started a yoga journey, mobility, some
Mhm.
strength components, right? Like and applying it to what your back injury in the past, right? Some of the
Mhm.
motivating factors.
Mhm.
Um, what? So you guys, you're doing personal training, and you're also doing yoga, maybe small group and one-on-one yoga. Then at Movement, you have your own clientele outside of Movement still. Like, tell about your yoga journey.
so it's funny because my personal training, since I personally have, all of my strength training certs, all of my yoga certs, and my FRC mobility, I can use at my own discretion, what that client needs.
Yeah.
Um, I don't necessarily do that much one-on-one yoga in our space just because the vibe is up and, it's bumping and it's going. So a lot of the private yoga sessions that I do are often in people's homes or
Mm-hmm.
at a time in the gym where we can turn the energy down because it's so much better to have calming energy. But I would say from my yoga journey with my back injury, I noticed, even though I was very, very hypermobile, I noticed that there was places in my spine specifically that I was moving more from, and other places in my spine that I was not moving at all from. I'm sure you've seen this. And so I decided to do yoga teacher training more so because I wanted to know more about the anatomy of the yoga, and understand, like, why do we do this posture? Why do we do that posture? Why? Because I've done so many yoga classes, I understood how to sequence, how to flow, how to put things together. But I wanted to understand on a deeper level of how can I serve my client. And if I'm going to do 30 minutes of strength and 30 minutes of yoga, I want to know exactly what yoga I need for that client to um, make sure I'm doing it like for the right reasons. So the yoga journey was more so I wanted to educate myself more in that realm so that I could bring it to my clients. And then I took another step further and went to FRC mobility, which is functional range conditioning. So more about the control and articulation of a joint so that people, especially yogis out there that are very hypermobile, teaching them how to control their mobility by articulating the joint with energy, being able to activate the muscles and control it versus just sink into their hypermobility and elongate everything.
So like stability at the end range.
Oh yeah, stability at the end range and stability overall.
Got it.
And then on the flip side, there's these athletes that you work with that are already really strong and really tight, and mobility would be to open their range of motion and further their range of motion and increase stability. All of it. It all goes hand in hand. But yoga then made me realize how much more hypermobility is in that industry, which then made me steer towards FRC.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So just there's different types of yoga,
Mm-hmm.
right? Describe some like yin yoga you're describing.
Mm-hmm. Vinyasa.
Vinyasa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yoga is definitely not really my thing. I never really got into it that much. It
Yeah.
wasn't really my thing. But yeah, describe the different types.
So yoga at its root is actually about breath. A lot of people always think yoga and they think like yoga postures, like they think it's all about the postures, but at its root, it's about breath. A lot of it is diaphragmatic breath. And so when I started yoga, I didn't really know that because I was thinking of like, I do all these postures, I sweat, I work out. So when I went to yoga teacher training, I learned about the principles and the philosophies and the history of yoga. And I went to a vinyasa flow yoga, which is a series of postures that you can sequence and you build from. And it's more of a flow type yoga that you can build strength, you can build mobility, you can increase flexibility, and you learn how to breathe in periods of time where your body is, maybe muscularly shaking or you're tired, and you learn how to calm the nervous system by calming the breath. So that's vinyasa. And then yin yoga is another specialty that I have that is more about even deeper into the diaphragmatic breath. So long, slow diaphragmatic breaths, maybe even sometimes holding the breath, relaxing the nervous system. And all of these postures are held from anywhere between 2 to 5 minutes long. So these postures are a little bit more passive. And that type of yoga goes into more of the connective tissue versus vinyasa is about using the muscles, moving, flowing. Yin is about finding stillness. And they say stillness in your mind, stillness in your body. So maybe you're in that posture. Perhaps you're in pigeon pose. Everyone knows what pigeon pose is. You're holding pigeon pose, and say you're a person that's incredibly tight. They would come up, they would bolster you and put little platforms underneath your body specifically for your body so that you could stay there for 3 to 5 minutes comfortably, and then let your nervous system calm down, and the connective tissue over time, which has like pressure on it from holding that posture, slowly and slowly and slowly releases. And that is probably my favorite to teach, even though I teach vinyasa every Saturday at Rosemary Square. I love teaching yin because we have these, you and I, busy day to day, go, 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 fast, 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 that no one takes the time for an hour to just sit. And even though you're not sitting, you're sitting in uncomfortable postures, it
Right.
teaches you a lot about what happens up here and like all the thoughts and things that you have stored here. So I actually brought yin to CrossFit Squad a long time ago, and we had a really big turnout. I don't know how many years ago it was. And I thought, how cool is it to see these CrossFit athletes who are like, let's go,
Yeah.
like all the time.
Yeah. Slinging and banging barbells, getting
yeah.
after it, chalky, dirty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, everyone, we're going to sit here for 3 to 4 minutes. And they're like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
And it's cool to see that they're like teaching themselves how to slow down
Mhm.
and calming their mind and calming their breath. But there's so many other forms of yoga, but I'd say the most popular is vinyasa. But yin is something that I would highly suggest to athletes that are already incredibly strong and incredibly tight because it gets deep into that connective tissue. And it's pretty safe if you're bolstered versus a vinyasa class could be heated. And if you have heat and elastic connective tissue, that's not the best combo. So
Yeah.
I'd say yin can almost be a little bit safer for the body with the proper propping.
Supports and stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, and you work with a lot of professional athletes.
hmm
Do you find yourself doing more yin or vinyasa with those athletes,
I actually
or does it
find,
depend?
yeah, it depends, but more so with the athletes, just to get them to slow down at all is great. So sometimes I'll start, I'm sneaky. Sometimes I'll start with vinyasa to like gain their trust
Yeah.
if they ask for yoga.
Yeah.
And then I make the suggestion over time that yin might be a better move for them. But every once in a while, I'll get like an athlete's doctor or manager or someone else that has suggested yin from the start, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
And I go right into yin, but most of these athletes, it's yin because they're high level athletes. Their brains are going all the time. They're constantly in states of fight or flight. They've, got to snap the ball. They've got to move. They got to make a decision, or they're a solo athlete where everything, their total outcome relies on them.
Yeah.
A lot of
pressure.
pressure and
Yeah.
stress. And yin is like the decompression yoga. And there's such a long, calm, soothing feeling that you get afterwards, almost as if like you could maybe go to bed or you could just calmly go about your day.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Interesting.
And that's really like the athletes, I think, that have not experienced that, when they do experience it for the first time, they're like, whoa,
I need more of this in my life.
yeah,
So it sounds like then some of the biggest benefit of the yin yoga is tapping into the parasympathetic, getting the nervous system to calm down, a meditation type of
mm-hmm,
feel,
mm-hmm.
and then the added benefits of the mobility where they need it.
Yes, totally.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's
And then
awesome.
sometimes I'll do a little half and half. Well, I'll start with active mobility where, they're igniting the muscle, they're moving through range of motion stuff. Everything's active. It's hard. It's slow.
Yeah.
It's, very catered towards what injuries they have. And I actually have relationships with these athletes, PTs, and I go and I call them and we talk over everything that I've found and what they've
Sure.
found.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to have those partnerships because I'm like, oh, I saw, the right tibia totally locked, wasn't moving. Like, I did a little bit FRC with this and we get to collab on it. And I know that I have that support from that PT that I can go to and be like, I noticed this. What did you notice? And that's really cool. But we'll start with the active mobility in some of these sessions, and I go through that, and it's like the hard work. And then the second half is the yin. So it's not maybe a whole hour of calm breathing.
Right. So
It's like a half an hour.
blend it in.
Blend it in. And then at the end, sometimes, especially on the first session, I don't tell them I'm going to do a meditation. I just go into it.
Right.
I just, like stay like, state like, place your hands anywhere on your side or on your body, close your eyes. I'm going to place a towel over your eyes. And then I start talking, and sometimes I do a guided meditation, which is one that takes them to a place, like an actual physical place.
Mhm.
So then their mind isn't thinking about anything else but what I'm saying. And then they can completely disconnect from anything from their day, from their thoughts, and take themselves to that place. And then I let them sit there for a minute or two calmly, and then they finish out the session. And at least for that 1 hour, they can disconnect. Like they're not like thinking about plays or thinking about, did I pack this? Or, and
Totally.
it's really cool to see. I love that feeling of looking up, especially in my community yoga classes, and seeing everybody relaxed. Cause I'm like, you guys deserve this. Like everyone deserves this. And this is what everyone needs, but doesn't necessarily take the time to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where does that passion come from? Just your own experiences, your back pain as a dancer?
Yeah, I think that I am also my own client because like I have always go because I have so much passion for what I do that if I don't have, like, the yin yang where there's like,
Hmm.
the good and the bad, like yin
Hmm.
is that slow. If I don't have yin, like I would not be well.
The yang is just taking over.
Yeah, the yang takes over because I have so much passion for what I do. And even my fiance at times, he's like, "Hey, look at your schedule this week. Like you're going nuts, you're going crazy." That I know that I need to take time to decompress. I know that yin or yoga or meditation or taking a 20-minute meditation in my car is just like what I need to be able to keep my body, my mind, my nervous system like on track. And
Right.
so some of that comes from my own personal experience that
Right.
like I'm so passionate about it. But I think more so, I see the results that it gives people and it makes them more effective in what they do.
Results in what way?
Results in their tissue quality, results in their joint mobility, their ability to move biomechanically, and then I would say like their mental status. Like mental health is a huge component of it. And when we have all this yang energy go, 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 and we don't ever slow down, eventually it catches up to us.
Right. For sure.
Yeah, mentally and physically in our tissue. And I see the difference that it makes in their lives. And it makes me want to keep going. And when we decided to open up Movement West Palm Beach, I, I, I specifically chose trainers that have similar vibes, not like all the same vibes, but they're trainers that have watched over a long period of time. And I see they practice yoga. They do meditation. They strength train. They run sprints. They run long distance. They'll take a boxing class. They're very versatile. And I think that those trainers really, because they do so much and they know so much, they can bring their scope into that, whatever is needed for that client. And they understand the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So similar culture. I mean, like a rooted culture that's very
Hmm.
similar to everybody.
Hmm.
I definitely can agree and attest, like as a busy person, like yourself, an entrepreneur, business owner,
Hmm.
the clarity of direction, decision making, and then the willpower cup that gets depleted daily,
Hmm.
which affects decision making and then clarity and then frustration and stress, anxiety all come with that totally. So the meditation component, I'm sure for you, then the clarity that comes
Oh yeah.
afterwards, or that it's helpful
Yes.
to make the right decisions.
Hmm.
And so for your pro athletes, then high level athletes, the same kind of clarity benefit, I would assume.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And sleep quality, huge.
Right.
Some athletes that I work with, I suggest sometimes, depending on the person, I suggest they do their yin session at night if sleep is an issue, because yin is a great way to just calm that nervous system, like chill everything
Decompress.
out, decompress, and then you can kind of make your way to bed. And I make myself available at those times for those reasons because I know that that's going to help them get to sleep more. And if
Yeah.
they sleep better, they're better being active the next day.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
But in these athletes, sometimes, some of them choose to do it like first thing in the morning, makes them feel mobile and fresh and good to go for the rest of the day. And that's their active recovery day,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is a great way to recover and have clarity for the rest of their day. And even if some of the breathing techniques or the principles that I talk to them about, even if they take away 20% of that into their season or wherever they're, going, like I'm grateful that they learn that,
Right.
that they can take that with
Still
them.
be a benefit.
Yeah, it can still be a benefit. I mean, I could virtual FaceTime anyone and do, a meditation. But the true test is like, do my clients take what I do with them on the road?
Yeah.
Like,
Of
can they
course.
do that on their own? And I love being able to teach my clients, even non-athletic clients, like you can do this at home. Have you tried this app? Have you downloaded the Calm app? Have you done this? You can, sometimes I've sent YouTube videos to people when I know they're in stressful times because I'm like, hey, I know Like we train 3 times a week and I haven't seen you a week because this is happening in your life. But if you're having a hard time sleeping, this is a great pre-sleep meditation, guided meditation.
Right.
And it's like, I know that that's not every trainer's approach to things because it's not everybody has that, but it's definitely more my approach personally.
With some of the athletes that you get referred to you, what are some of the main questions they'll come up to you with? Like, hey, so we're going to do yoga, right? I've never done this in my life,
So it's funny because a lot of athletes that come to me always don't necessarily want to do yoga. They're like, this is dumb.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I get it. Like they're high performing athletes.
Super intense, like, football, basketball, team sport.
Yep. And
it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. They're like, but normally, and a mentor of mine told me this before a long time ago. Normally the thing that you're not choosing to do is the thing that you need to do. And it's like, if you're not doing it, that's probably the thing you need to do to break down whatever barrier it is that you need to get through onto the other side.
And I would imagine that's born out of like, I'm not good at it, or I'm fearful that I'm going to fail at it or not be good at it. And it's going to expose some things. Anyway.
Yeah. It's very vulnerable. Yoga's vulnerable because athletes and people get nervous. And the first thing that they say is, oh, I'm not flexible. And I'm like, doesn't matter. Like if you have a body, you can do yoga.
But wouldn't that be a reason why you should implement something?
Yes. But
look great. Let's get started.
But they see on Instagram. They see these girls with their leg like on the side of their head,
like, absolutely can't do that.
Yeah.
It's not me.
And that's what they think yoga is. And so
so then what message you want to convey then?
Yeah.
For the same questions,
So yoga is for everybody and every body, and that if you have a body and if you have breath, that's all you need. Because really the root of yoga is breathing. You could choose 5 postures a day that were super simple, but if you could sit there and calm your mind and breathe in them, that's yoga. And any yoga class that you go to where that class is above the level that you're at, that just might not be for you. And you need to find a class that is for you and seek that out and understand that maybe you're not where the person is next to you. That's totally okay, because their journey and your body and their body are like totally different. So when these athletes or these clients come to me and they ask for it and they're nervous and they're vulnerable, I'm like, we're just going to take it one session at a time.
Right.
And we're going to get to a place where you realize, oh my gosh, I remember when I couldn't do X, and look, and that's about yoga is about the journey of getting from where you were to where you're going. It's not like the posture.
Right.
Like, oh my God, I can do Warrior 2 like so much better.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's like, oh my gosh, I remember when I was having such a hard time breathing in this and my shoulders hurt and I ached and now I can sit in it comfortably and take a deep breath. Like, and that equals less pain in my body.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it translates. That's interesting. I definitely can see, I definitely agree that the mental component, the mental health, the mental aspect of sports and just performance and stuff, and also just as a high performing entrepreneur, mom and dad, dude, that is the separating factor. Because a lot of people are super athletic and mobile. I just was talking, we've had professional mental health professionals on here and like definitely getting their insights. And I'm like, yo, this is so underweighted. I feel like that now is definitely a culture. It seems like streaming to that. It's like, oh yeah, my therapist said this too. It's like, you're going to therapy. That's awesome. Versus like, well, I don't want to go into therapy. It's like, oh, you must be crazy. It's like, dude, I want things to be good.
Yeah.
But anyway, I definitely think there's a huge undervalue and underweight to the mental component. So what you're saying is it sounds like the yoga component, especially yin, is going to be another avenue and tool to tap into the mental clarity, decompression, exposing some things that maybe are causing stress and anxiety that's going to limit your performance. It's just an avenue to maybe work on that.
Yeah. And even totally. And even in the yoga world, you can get super into the yogic world. I kind of stay in the middle between the yoga world and the fitness world and can take my conversations more in a streamlined way to cater towards athletes.
Right.
Like I'm not talking to a quarterback being like, we're going to align your heart chakra. Like, I'm like, because I know that he's going to be like, what?
Different,
Yeah.
different person, culture.
Yeah. But I know
cool.
that also at the same time, if this whole area is super tight and all the muscle tissue around it, it has something to do with the energetic feelings that you're holding in that area. 100%.
Yeah. You can't separate the mind from the body.
Yes. And some of that stuff is what you're going through. Some of that stuff is stored past stuff. And that energy that's storing in your body, like energy it's energy. I mean, you can, and when you move energy. So, or when you breathe, you're breathing into your diaphragm and it's opening parts in your body in a calmer way. So yoga and mental health and meditation and all of these slowing down components and therapy are definitely all incredibly underrated. And, you know, for all the people out there that think that therapy is like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to go to therapy. Almost every single pro athlete has a mental coach. They can call them, you know, some of them are therapists, some of them are mental coaches in their sports. However, it's therapy in some regard. So, you know, even the highest paying athletes that are performing at the highest are using these coaches, and they wait for these sessions, like to go into these sessions like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to feel better. And I think yoga is also the same way. It's just not talking. You know, it's working through your own energy, your own stuff. And sometimes people prefer that over going to a therapist. I think both are great. But it's definitely the underdog of the health world for sure. All of those things.
Totally. Great analogy, the underdog. Totally. It could be a total game changer once you tap into that, in my opinion. Yeah, that's awesome. So what do clients that want to seek you out, right? What questions do they usually ask you? They're not high level athletes. There's moms and dad, active people. You know, they want to improve their life and stuff and improve their fitness and journey. What do they usually ask you?
So many things. I love the general population questions because they're very curious and they want to know, what can I do? Like, I want to get toned. Toned is a very common word. I want to be fit. I want to lose weight. I want to be strong. You know, all the things that they come to you about, they know what they want to look like or feel like, but they don't know how to get there.
Right.
So you're their guide. And essentially you have to educate them on those things that they need to do in a scientific way. Like, you need to explain to them, especially, you know, with women more specifically. So many women think cardio, skinny. You know, it's like, no, it's about being strong. Like, we lose so much muscle tissue as we age with all of the hormonal changes. Like, you need to lift. You need to lift weights. You need to understand the science behind lifting weights and why it's good for you. And, you know, and the men come to us and they're like, I want to lift. And I'm like, we need your heart to be healthy. We need your heart. You need some cardiovascular work, you know.
Some mobility too.
Some mobility, yes. Because, you know, you can bench like 250 and run a 10-minute mile, but you can't move your shoulder behind your back, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
So they come to us for guidance. And I personally, I can't speak for all of my trainers, but I kind of can because I know they're awesome.
Yeah.
Like, speak from a scientific point of view where they're like, okay, this is the science. Like, when you gain muscle tissue, this is what happens. Like, you burn more calories at rest. You have more muscle tissue. You're stronger. You can live longer. You have less pain. You're going to be, you know, we're going to teach you proper biomechanics so you're not going to injure yourself. And we go over kind of like what their week looks like. And if their week looks like, I play tennis on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and you're training them on Tuesday, Thursday, not that it's not necessary to include cardio, but like, you really need to focus on strength because they're not lifting on those days.
Right.
And you already know that. So you kind of have to guide them in the way of, like, you lay out their week. We don't necessarily do like nutrition counseling. Like, I like to make suggestions.
Right.
I think everyone has their scope, and trainers are not supposed to be like giving out nutritional guidance in the like nutrition full, like, oh, these are your macros and all that.
Right.
Like, I don't believe in that. I believe that like nutritionists are
That's what they do.
licensed. That's what they do.
Yeah.
So another way that I refer out. But we do make like suggestions, like, okay, let's take a look at what you're eating. Sometimes I'll have clients just send me each day what they've ate. And I don't give them any feedback. And then when I see them in person, I'm like, I give them like a general understanding of like, this is kind of around the grams of protein that you're at per day, or, this is how many calories around ish that you're eating. I never give macros or calories. I just talk to them about what they can change, like simple things like, okay, Sally, it looks like you ate only protein at 6 p.m. and you had, cereal for breakfast, and you had avocado toast with no egg on it for lunch, and then you had chicken at night, like, and no snacks in between, and 1 glass of water. All right, what are we going to work on here?
Right.
And make those suggestions. So we suggest those changes, but we also teach the client, because they come to us being like, I want to look toned.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, so much of that is about what you're eating.
Mm-hmm.
We can strength train and work with you and guide you 2-3 days a week here, but what you're doing with your body at home and what you're putting into it is going to change that tone and that muscle tissue. And if you're not consuming enough protein, which a lot of women are not, men a lot of times are, but sometimes men like yourself, like entrepreneurs that are just going, 8 hours can go by and they realize they haven't ate anything.
Yeah. It happens all the time.
Moms and
I'm
dads.
Like, it's 2:30. I didn't eat lunch.
Yes.
F.
Yeah.
I was not eating lunch today.
Yeah,
Because I'm going to go home and have dinner with my kids at 5:30. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to eat right now.
Yeah. And your muscle that you already have, it's like, hello, where's the food?
Yeah.
And so that nutritional timing, things like that, we educate them on. But I'd say the biggest questions probably are like, tell me how to get there.
Yeah.
And our facility is not one to do macro counting. At this time, we don't have body fat testing. I think that it's a great tool. Yeah. If people want to have, some people are numbers people.
Some objective measures.
They like objective measures. But I think more specifically, there's a lot of people, and the age range and demographic that have been coming to us are like late 30s, 40 plus. And they're caring a lot about pain. They want to be out of pain.
Right.
So
that's hear that all the time.
Yes.
I just want to be able to, I just want to not be hurting anymore.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like, you've come to the right place.
Yeah. Yeah. And, some of that is too, when the people come to us like, okay, let's take a look at their intake form and what they have going on here. And is this they need to be in physical therapy for a while? Or is it, we just need to mobilize their body and getting it moving again.
Modify some fitness stuff.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, the combination you're mentioning with women in particular, right? Because we definitely hear that a lot too. When we progress people out of like intense rehabs, like backed up rehab stuff, and like progressing into fitness things. And then women are like, well, I don't want to get bulky.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting recipe that you just mentioned where it's like cardio, and also not eating enough protein.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, dude, your muscle tissue is definitely not going to be as optimal as it could be.
Your muscle tissue has left the chat.
But you want to be toned.
Yeah.
And that comes from more muscle tissue and then dropping body fat percentage. And the recipe that's being implemented here is not set up for success with that.
Yeah. I think.
What do you convey to women for that? I don't want to be bulky.
Yeah.
You're like, you need to lift weights.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be bulky.
So people see like women in CrossFit, and they see that their muscle tissue is
super
developed. And that's what they think they're going to look like when they lift. They have no idea what those CrossFit athletes do to be able to get to that body.
Yeah.
So I try to
talk. Or the bodybuilders.
Yeah. Sometimes I use my other trainers or myself, for example, and talk about the protein that I take in and what I look like. And I say like, is this the body style that you're looking for? I'm like, nope, that person lifts.
Yeah.
They lift. And I explain the tone that they're looking for comes from the development of the muscle tissue, not because they starved themselves calorically or they over cardioed themselves.
Right.
So I tell them and especially with like the different body styles. I don't know how much you believe in like endo, ecto, meso,
Yeah, of course.
like all the
Genetics, you know, set the stage, load the
totally,
gun, and then your activities in nature or nurture pulls the trigger.
totally.
That's what I think.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the ectomorph, the tall, long, lean basketball player. It's going to take so much more for them to build any type of round muscle belly than a mesomorph. And a lot of these women that come to me, some of them are already ectomorph. They're already tiny, small frame, long, tall, lean. And they're like, I don't want to look bulky. And I'm like, it's not even in your genetic makeup.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to happen.
Right.
And I also have used like previous clients. I worked with a client when I was younger, like right when I first started in like 2011. She was 74 and she entered a bodybuilding competition.
Wow.
And I trained her, and her coach was her nutritionist. I did nothing with nutrition. I just trained her for it.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of protein that she had to eat to go from a tinier 74-year-old woman to look how she did on stage was disgusting.
How much?
Oh my God. It was like 180 grams a day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like in the bulking phase of,
Yeah.
and it was like she was eating boiled chicken breast at breakfast.
Ah, you have to.
And even still, her muscle bellies didn't build to be like, they were lean, but not even bulky. She was 74. And so I explained to women, like I show them sometimes her picture and I'm like, what does this look like to you? And they're like, she looks really fit. And I'm like, she was eating 180 grams of protein a day.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? You know, and I use examples from previous clients that I have. And I don't do, you know, suggested macros, but I do know that if you're eating close to your muscle tissue in grams, that's pretty good measurable number.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and some women aren't even consuming 40 in a day.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's
crazy.
And they think that protein is like what's going to make them thick.
Yeah.
And they think
it makes you lean.
It makes you
And
lean.
if you add that in with the resistance training, it's going to be way more effective for reducing the body fat percentage that you want and then exposing some more developed muscle tissue underneath.
Mm-hmm.
That's the tone what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing about it too is like first of all, 180 grams of protein, that's a ton, right?
So much.
I was like, let's back this down just for reference for people to understand. Like, let's say you did 160 grams of protein, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's 4 meals a day of 40 grams of protein per meal. 40 grams of protein from chicken, that's a crap ton of chicken,
a lot.
right? Like you have to be at least one protein shake. Okay, that's 40 grams right there.
Yeah.
You need 3 other meals of 40 grams per meal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, was there 10 grams of protein per egg? Is that about accurate? Off the top of my head.
I think it's a little less.
Like 8 maybe.
Yeah.
So you need like 5 eggs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She was eating like 5 eggs and a piece of boiled chicken at breakfast.
Yeah. And then a protein shake. That's a massive protein shake, right?
Yeah.
And then more boiled chicken or beef or something like that for lunch. And then again for dinner.
But these CrossFit athletes are also consuming higher levels of food intake too.
Yeah.
That like, and these, you know, you see these bigger, thicker fitness women, they're consuming enough to keep their muscle tissue on purpose.
Yeah.
So I love to be, and we, part of Movement West Palm Beach, we like changed the vibe in our gym and added some calming colors and plants and made it more approachable for women because
less intimidating. Yeah.
It's intimidating. And I feel like when women walk into our space, they're instantly like, oh, okay, this is calm.
I feel good here. Yeah.
And then they instantly like feel more comfortable talking about those things. And most of the times when women walk in, like tone is a word that I hear all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be bulky is the next sentence. And I'm like, trust me, I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
Get there.
You won't get there. Like we'd have to be training like 6 days a week. You had to consume this much protein. You'd have to have this genetic makeup. Like we're good.
And like I was 2 things I was thinking on that too is like a lot of men, like dudes, right? They want to be more muscular and be jacked, like Instagram models. And I'm like, it takes a lot of work for those guys to get there. And they have like triple the amount of testosterone that women have. And it's still hard for them. You're already set up for not being as muscular developed potential. And you're concerned you're going to get more bulky than that guy.
I know, exactly.
Like you're not even close.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll do that I've done in the past with some people I've worked with previously, but like Google an image of a sprinter athlete, female.
Oh, I say this too.
and then Google a marathon runner athlete, like high level, right? And if you were to look at this girl, you know, just like on the street wearing street clothes, like, man, she looks good. She's fit. You know what I mean? She's toned. And then this other one's like, you know, thin, skinny.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, they do power training, resistance training for sure, and they're eating a ton of protein. And then this person only does cardio.
Mm-hmm.
Based on what you're saying, like, what do you feel like your goal that you want? You know,
Yeah.
it sounds like this. This is what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that makes,
Yeah.
I think all those things combined. You know?
Yes. I use pictures though, because I say like,
It's
do
good.
you appreciate this or this?
Yeah.
And most of the time, they're either looking at the sprinter's butt and they're like, wow, that's nice. Or they're like wanting something in between.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, well, we're not running marathons daily. So that's out.
Yep.
And we're not, we're not going to be eating and consuming food that way either.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and we're not Olympic level
yeah,
resistance and power training like this Olympic athlete.
exactly.
You're going to be a great fit for this middle ground.
Exactly. Like you are the middle ground.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
cool.
like to use that. But there's also like on the flip side from women, there's also men that come in with this like, oh, well, back in the day, I used to do this, this, and this. And sometimes they think that their body is still capable of those things. However, they haven't done that thing. And it's like, if you don't move it, you lose it in some capacity. So when they come in to train, men often want to be able to do things that they used to be able to do that they can no longer do.
Right.
And that they also want to get fit too. But it's more so, I find, the women that are looking for the figure and the men looking for the ability to be able to golf, to be able to run again, to be able to play with their grandkids, to be able to, and women too, they want to do those things, but they're mostly already doing them. It's the men that of like the 45 and older category that are looking to get out of pain, to have more joint mobilization, flexibility, all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes they come in asking for, oh yeah, well, I used to be able to do this. So I'd love to get back to being able to do that again. Whether it's like, oh, I could bench this, whatever. That might be their specific goal. And we could add some programming in to get back to that goal. But as a trainer, we have to be their guide to prioritize the things that they need to do first before that.
Yeah. Let's lay out this plan, this progression.
Yeah.
Which is going to take some time.
Yeah.
It's interesting with that too. Like, it's very similar, I'm a guy, previous athlete, and I had to redefine what I considered workouts. Where it's like, well, I used to be able to do this in college. So if I'm not doing these types of things, my workouts, or this amount of weight, then I'm not really working out. It doesn't count.
Yeah.
I really didn't even do anything, but I just can't, like, it's just not realistic anymore. Also not necessary.
No, not
especially if the goal is to like not hurt anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, I got 2 kids at home. I got to bend over all the time and play games on the floor, play Barbie and stuff.
Yeah. Imagine if dad's back's all jacked because he decided to do whatever at the gym.
So anyway, if this helps anybody, at least like redefining what you consider to be a workout, and then not your self-value and self-worth not embedded in what your bench press number is.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
I can't bench what I did in college, therefore I am less of a man.
Yes.
It's like, it's not true.
That's so not true.
Yeah.
But the second that they start to see results in their everyday life, they forget about the bench or the squat or the deadlift. They forget because they're like, oh my gosh, I played 3 rounds of golf this week. I crushed it. I'm hitting it farther. I have no back pain.
Huge.
Like I play with my kids today and I had so much energy in the backyard. Like, and to me, like when people come to us, they ask for physical results. And then in the return, they get these results that are actually happening like in front of their eyes that are not off. Like, I'm losing inches. They lose the inches, they lose the body fat, they get the muscle tone, but they realize that they can actually have a better quality of life. And then they're like, wow, I could live longer and do more and participate in all the things I want to do. And it took me kind of getting out of my head and like setting down the ego to be able to get to this point, being vulnerable with another person. And that's why like the relationships that I have with my clients are very personal.
Super authentic.
Super authentic.
Yeah.
Like I know everything about their families. I actually spend sometimes more time with them than their own kids do. if they live in other states.
Right.
If I see them 3 days a week,
It's true.
and
It's a lot.
it's a lot of time, and it feels nice to have those relationships with people in the same way that I have relationships with people in the community. But you have those same relationships too, because you're working with people and getting someone else's family member out of pain,
Right.
so they can go back and do all the things that they love doing. And it's a good feeling, that like giving feeling of knowing that you're rewarding them back with their life again.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That's awesome.
hmm
Well, that's really cool. And we can definitely tell you're super passionate about what you do, helping people get it back, get your own vibes going and your own spot at movement. If people, well, I appreciate you coming in. We'll
Thank
have to
you.
have round 2 and deep dive more into some of the other new fitness stuff that you've been doing, and other collabs and things. But if people want to reach out and learn more about Movement West Palm Beach, how they can talk to you and your gym and stuff, what's the best way for them to reach you?
They can add us on Instagram. We're Movement West Palm Beach, and we're spelling it MVMNT WPB. So no vowels, no vowels. Yeah. Or you're welcome to email us at letstrain@movementwestpalmbeach.com. You could follow me on Instagram. I'm Natalie Addison on Instagram. And we have a lot of awesome trainers that we can pair you with. And there's going to be a lot of events and seminars. So like everyone can follow us, and we'll do tons of things in the community that like everyone can come to.
And you said you're Rosemary Square every Saturday?
Oh yeah, I teach yoga every Saturday, Rosemary Square, 10 a.m. It's community-based, donation-based yoga. So it's all levels for all people. And there's days where we have 70 people. They closed down Rosemary Ave, and our mats are aligned all along Rosemary Ave. And it's
Cool.
one of the biggest collaborative classes, and it's like my baby. And all the people that are there are such good people, and there's some great relationships that you can make. So people in West Palm, if they're looking to get started in yoga, it's a great basics class. And afterwards, people kind of hang out and connect
Talk, chat,
after.
and stuff.
Yeah.
It's cool. Great way to just get some exposure.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, thanks for coming in.
Thank
Really
you so much
appreciate it.
for having
We'll
me.
definitely have to come by and check out your spot. And if y'all have any questions, you can always reach out to us. We're always open to suggestions, comments, other topics when we talk about conflicting opinions. We're always about that stuff, so definitely reach out. If you're in any pain, we would love to help you with that too. And don't hesitate to reach out to ask questions about what you're battling. And our phone number at 561-899-8725 is a great way to reach us, or our email, which is team@athleterc.com. And we'll catch y'all next time.